How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, we are going to be doing something that I have never before done on this channel, and that is feature viewer-submitted battles. And honestly, it has been something I've been wanting to do for some time now, but I really just wanted to establish my own content decently well before I started doing it. But this week ended up being the perfect time to try it out because I've been very busy at work and I haven't really played that many battles. But my good friend Spencer, aka SomeKindaRookie, was kind enough to send me some of his battles featuring Shadow Tyranitar. And Shadow Tyranitar is one of those mons that kind of comes out of hiding when these limited meta cups like the Great League Remix comes around, because it's very, very vulnerable to a lot of the open Great League meta, like the Stunfisks, the Bastiodons, Azu, pretty much any of the Mud Boys, Whiscash, the Quagsires, the Unova Stunfisks, the Swamperts. They're all going to absolutely destroy Shadow Tyranitar. So it's very difficult to use in open formats, but in the Great League Remix especially, there's lots of flyers. Lots of these flyers are running these buffed wing attacks, so I've seen so many flyers, tons of Froslass, and honestly, people kind of forget about Shadow Tyranitar, and if you forget about Shadow Tyranitar, Shadow Tyranitar will literally smack you down. So he sent me these battles, and he's running a pretty spicy double grass backline as well to round out the team. And honestly, the team actually covers its weaknesses very well. The Shadow Tyranitar is obviously going to be very weak to counter as well, and charm, and the backline can handle that, and the backline is going to be able to handle the mud and water, and the backline is really going to be able to handle pretty much all the weaknesses. Really, the only thing I can think of that would be probably super tricky for this team would be some of the steel types that are out there. But we're going to have to see what he can do with this team. I have not seen any of these battles, so I'm super excited to see what this team can do. And honestly, I think it has a lot of potential, really, if used correctly. So let's get into these, and I actually did slow them down a bit. I think we only have maybe 7 battles today, but let's see what SomeKindaRookie can do with Shadow Tyranitar. So going into our first battle here, he is leading Shadow Tyranitar into Magnezone, and this is exactly what I was thinking. These steel types that are out there might be a little bit tricky, so he actually is going to switch into the Ivysaur here. Looks like he will be running Ivysaur as the safe switch, and the opponent's staying in, so that's good. At least the Shadow Tyranitar is going to avoid this, and honestly, I'm not sure if the opponent's just going to try to get the attack debuff here, and they actually go for the Wild Charge, and even though that's resisted, it does massive damage, and the opponent actually stayed in after the Wild Charge, and he's going to hit him with the Sludge here. Honestly, it would be better to go for the Power Whip here. Power Whip would just be single resisted, and the Sludge Bomb would be double resisted, but either way, the opponent stays in and then farms up a bit. And again, he's going for the Sludge Bomb here. In neutral situations as well, it's better to go for Power Whip. Power Whip does 90 damage and Sludge does 80. But the opponent actually commits his last shield, so it didn't end up mattering, and he just barely doesn't make it to the next one. So a little rough, but the nice thing here is that he actually gets both shields early on. And Shadow Tyranitar with the shield advantage is just absolutely stupid good. And the opponent now has their Obstagoon switched into this Tropius here, so this is very nice. Honestly, it would be amazing just to be able to get rid of this thing before the opponent's switch clock comes back up, because these switch clocks are pretty misaligned. So what could end up happening here is he may be stuck in here if this Magnezone comes back. So I like here just getting these moves off to guarantee some damage onto the Obstagoon. And he's also saving his shields wisely, knowing that it's good to avoid shielding early Night Slashes in case the opponent boosts. And he actually brings back in the T-Tar here, and he calls a Night Slash bait. Oh my goodness, if that was a cross chop, it probably would have one-shotted his T-Tar. And at this point, the opponent's probably just going to go straight for the Mirror Shot here. But they actually Wild Charge, and now their defense is debuffed. He might be able to farm this down, and they do get to one final move. This may be the Mirror Shot, I'm not sure. And the opponent goes for the Wild Charge again, so maybe a single move Magnezone. But now he has a loaded Stone Edge for whatever comes in here. And they actually bring back in the Obstacle, and he holds on to his energy. What's going to be in the back? And it's a Sylveon. And honestly, Sylveon would normally destroy this T-Tar, but this Sylveon does not want to see that Shadow Stone Edge. It nearly one-shots, and now Tropius can safely clean this game up, because he's going to outpace here. And wow, what a game. The opponent there making some very interesting plays, and he's going to no bubble it too, just for a little bit of a flex. And very nice win there. Wow, what a game. And wow, another core breaker in the next match in Escav. And honestly, this Ivysaur does not have a much better time here than that T-Tar, because all these moves are going to be double resisted. And here again, you're going to want to just go for the Power Whip. Both are double resisted, but again, Power Whip just does slightly more damage. And the nice thing here is, even though that Drill Run hurts, the counters are resisted here, so it will be a tough farm down for the Escav. And honestly, the opponent doesn't have to shield anything here. He does go for the Sludge, and as you see, it doesn't do too much damage. And hopefully he can get to another move here. And he just barely can't, but the opponent is actually going to throw some energy here, so that's absolutely massive. And also, the opponent's staying in, which is very nice for the T-Tar, because hopefully that means this is the only answer for the T-Tar, and that if he gets rid of this with the Tropius here, this T-Tar may be able to sweep the backline, so we'll have to see. I like bringing in the Tropius here, and honestly, you may be able to farm all the way down, shield the Mega Horn, and then come out with a lot of loaded energy. So we'll have to see what he decides to do, and he's actually going to let it go. Is he going to call the Drill Run here? And the opponent goes for the Mega Horn, and that does massive damage. Now I think you just commit to the farm down. Should be able to barely get it, and he does get it. So let's see what's in back. The opponent has a Quagsire, so they do have another answer to T-Tar. But the nice thing is, the Tropius already has 2 Leaf Blades here, so honestly, I think he should be able to outpace, and the Tropius is going to be triple resisting these Mud Shots, so there's no way this can farm down. But the opponent's actually bringing this Quagsire into the Tropius, and they don't shield. They know there's a T-Tar in the back, and they don't shield. So what do they have in the back? I'm not sure why you would bring a Quagsire into a loaded Tropius unless you have, like, a 10 CP Magikarp in the back. And the opponent had a Hypno in the back the whole time. Oh my goodness, opponent. The opponent brought in a Quagsire to a loaded Tropius, and they had a Hypno in the back, knowing that there's a Shadow T-Tar still in play, and now this Shadow T-Tar is just going to absolutely obliterate this poor Hypno. Oh my gosh, I can't even watch. So, very nicely done here by SomeKindaRookie, but wow, the opponent there losing with the shield, and honestly, what a game. What a game. That's all I have to say. So, a Victreebel on the next battle, and not a great lead for him. He was going to bring in the Ivysaur, and he's actually going for the double resisted Power Whip instead of the neutral Sludge Bomb. And the opponent calls it. I thought for sure they were going to shield there, but they call it, and that does no damage. And now they bring in a Honchkrow, and they win CMP. And this is, honestly, there's no point in shielding this, because Honchkrow will just absolutely destroy this Ivysaur. And I actually really like this play as well, because now you can just come back in with the T-Tar and probably just fully farm down. And I'm honestly not even sure if this Honchkrow is going to get to another move, especially since it looks like they're running Dark Pulse. And yeah, they're not even going to get to a 4th Snarl here to get a move on. So the opponent doesn't even get a move off here. And they actually don't bring back in the Shadow Vic. They bring in a Marsh Stomp. And this Marsh Stomp is running Water Gun here. So this is not a good matchup here. But he's going to get a shield. And honestly, I think at this point, you just save both your shields for Tropius, because you know that there's a Victreebel in back. And honestly, your Tropius should just be able to fully sweep this team now. And very nicely done by him, recognizing that the Tropius is his win con. And honestly, I doubt that this Marsh Stomp is running Sludge. But even if it is running Sludge, you can probably just save your shields for the Victreebel, because a Sludge Bomb from a Victreebel would do a lot more than a non-stab Sludge from the Marsh Stomp. And we'll have to see what he decides to do here. He is going to let that go, and I think that's the right call. It's very likely running Surf and Mud Bomb. And as you see, that Surf really doesn't do any damage, and he can very safely over-farm here by quite a bit. And we'll see if he decides to shield this or not. That Victreebel's not getting to 2 moves, so yeah, I don't mind this play, just to be safe. And now you should be able to safely farm down, and now he has the Aerial Ace loaded for this Victreebel. And honestly, we'll have to see if this KOs. If it was a Shadow Vic, it would definitely KO, but I'm not sure, honestly, how bulky regular Victreebel is. And it actually tanks that, so pretty impressive. And honestly, at this point, you can just safely shield whatever this is. Probably just going to be a Leaf Blade, and he's going to get the win here. So very nicely done. Honestly, a very tricky lead, but he was able to play around an Escav lead, so very nicely done. And the opponent has a Bite Crobat on the lead, and then he switches into a Water Gun Golduck. And now I have officially seen it all. But this is a terrible matchup for the Golduck. Typically, Golducks are going to be running Confusion, which would be quite a bit trickier for this Ivysaur. But since it's running Water Gun, and the opponent shields! The opponent shielded! Oh my goodness, what a play. And honestly, this will probably just be like an Ice Beam, I would imagine. And it's actually a Psychic, so wow. I don't even know if I knew that Golduck could know Psychic. But at this point, I think he could probably just farm all the way down. And he does, so very, very nicely done. And honestly, the unfortunate thing here is that the Crobat is going to fully wall this Ivysaur. And this is a situation where you throw the Sludge because it's only single resisted, whereas the Grass move would be double resisted. And the opponent actually shielded the Sludge Bomb, knowing that there is a Shadow Tyranitar in play. The opponent is shielding their Bite Crobat. And honestly, I think this game is over at this point because he has a shield advantage now. And honestly, it doesn't really even matter. And oh my goodness, he actually got to another Sludge Bomb, but he throws the double resisted Power Whip instead. And this is probably not going to KO, and it doesn't. And now this Crobat might get to a move on his T-Tar, and it does. Is he going to call the Poison Fang here? What is this going to be? And it's a Shadow Ball, and it's resisted, but look at how much damage that does. Oh my goodness. But the opponent has a Magneton in the back. And honestly, Magneton is not going to appreciate this crunch. How much damage is this going to do on a regular Magneton? And it one-shots! It one-shots the Magneton! Oh my goodness. I'm blown away. What's some absolutely incredible plays by the opponent there. Wow. Yeah. Wow. And he has a Froslass lead here, and it looks like the Froslass is staying in, so this is perfect. So likely at this point you would be reading that the opponent must be very weak to this T-Tar and back if he's staying in this lead. So I like the shield here, and honestly, if the opponent just lets him farm down, he's definitely going to want to be safe switching out of here, but then the opponent actually brings in an Obstagoon. So this is perfect. And my guess is that this is probably the opponent's only answer to the T-Tar, seeing that they stayed in so long with the Froslass. So this is amazing. I like calling the Night Slash there, knowing that, if the opponent boosts, the next one will be doing more. And again, he does throw the Sludge here. Better to go for Power Whip, but either way, it's not that big a deal. And the opponent shields, so it doesn't end up mattering in the end. And I think he should be able to take this Night Slash. This is not the best Ivysaur, so we'll have to see how much damage this does. And it does do quite a bit. Can he live this counter? And no, unfortunately he can't. But honestly, this is okay. He can come in with a Tropius here. I'd probably get quite a bit of energy. And honestly, I think at this point you just save your shields for the T-Tar, knowing that there's very likely... Oh my gosh, the opponent just cross-chopped a Tropius. The opponent has Night Slash, and they just cross-chopped the Tropius. You'd love to see it, but very nice snipe there on the Froslass, and I didn't see what they came back in with. Did they come back in with the Obstagoon? We'll have to see. And they do. So actually, this is a bit unfortunate, because now, since he switched out there to snipe that Froslass, he's given up switch, and that allowed the Obstagoon to farm him down. So a little tricky here. He's going to call the Night Slash. I like this, but he just has to hope now that there's something in back that's weak to this Tropius, because I'm guessing it's going to be weak to Tyranitar, so very likely could be another Ice type, potentially, or a Fire type. Again, he calls the Night Slash, but he's getting very low here. This is going to be a super close game. I'm not sure. He almost has 3 Leaf Blades. What's going to be in back? And it's a Lapras, but it's running Water Gun. Oh my goodness. If this is an Ice Shard Lapras, I think 1 Ice Shard would KO here, but this is going to be extremely close. And the Leaf Blade doesn't quite do half. Is he going to be able to pull this off? This is going to be so close. I don't think this is quite going to KO, and it barely doesn't. And the opponent's Water Gunning, and he lives on 1 HP, and he Air Slashes down. Oh my goodness, what a game. Wow, some absolutely spicy movesets there by the opponent, but he manages to get it done. And Lucario, honestly, I think Lucario is the hardest answer to Tyranitar in the game, so we'll have to see how he plays this out, because honestly, Ivysaur is not much better. Everything he throws here is going to be resisted, and ooh, this Lucario here is going straight Power Up Punch, and he's ramping up. This could get very scary. This Lucario potentially could sweep. Again, throwing the Sludge. Probably going to get a shield, so it doesn't really matter. But again, you're going to be wanting to throw that Power Whip there. It's going to be single resisted versus the double resisted Sludge. And honestly, is this opponent going to go straight Power Up Punch here? He is. And the scary thing here is if the opponent... Oh my gosh, he actually gets to another move here. This is absolutely massive for him. This is absolutely massive for him. Is he going to get the last shield here? And he actually does get the last shield here. And now he has a 2-0 shield advantage. So I think you have to come in with the Tropius here and just hope that the opponent stays in and lets you farm down. And I believe this opponent is at least double boosted here. Maybe should have respected a Shadow Ball there. But very nice call. Very nice call that the opponent was just going straight power-up punch there. And then the opponent switches out into a Charizard. And this Charizard is going to get absolutely demolished here. But again, the unfortunate thing here is now that he's locked in, this Lucario can come back in and look at those counters. Lucario takes out the Tyranitar in 3 counters. Oh my gosh. So very, honestly, nice play by the opponent to bring in something to lure back out that T-Tar. But yeah, now we just have to hope that the opponent doesn't have something in back that can handle this Tropius, because if the opponent has a good team comp here, they're likely going to have another answer to a Flyer. And honestly, the opponent is at this point probably just only running Power Up Punch because that's all he's thrown. And the opponent has a Galarian Rapidash in back. And honestly, I think he's going to be okay here because he has 2 shields and the opponent has none. And Fairy Wind is not going to be applying that much fast move pressure. And again, he's going for the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is just an extraordinarily terrible move. Leaf Blade in all neutral situations is a significantly better move. It's significantly less energy and it does more damage. So he gets the win and the 2 shield flex. Very nicely done. But next time, probably just go for the Leaf Blades there. And I'm not sure if this is the final battle, but we have a Guzzlord here. And honestly, this is another core breaker for the team because his grass types in the back do not want to see this dragon. And it looks like he tried to catch the Dragon Claw there, but the opponent holds on to their energy. And honestly, the opponent's farming up a lot of energy here. I'm not sure if Guzzlord knows any nukes, but we'll have to see what the opponent throws. He's going to call the bait here, and it's a Sludge Bomb. Oh my goodness. Barely doesn't KO. And here, very nicely done, throwing the Sludge Bomb right before he goes down. And honestly, he just needs to hope that the opponent commits a shield here so he can start to get himself a shield advantage on the T-Tar. And he actually is going to bring back in the T-Tar. This is going to be very close. Maybe going to try to commit to a very aggressive farm down here. And the Smackdown did go through here, so we'll have to see, is the opponent going to be able to get to a second move here? One more Smackdown should KO, and the opponent brings in a Water type. I didn't see what it was, but that's a Bubble user. So his Tropius is looking very strong here, and it's a Politoed. Wow, and this Politoed is running Bubble, so this is huge for the Tropius. So if it's running Blizzard, it's going to get to these moves quite a bit slower than if it was running Mudshot. And now this is a very tough call. He's going to call that the opponent's not running Blizzard. And it's just a Weather Ball, so what a call there. And I think you probably have to overfarm a bit here because you don't know what's in back yet and very likely could have another answer in the back. And unfortunately, he does lose CMP here, but I don't think that was quite enough for another Blizzard. We'll have to see. And just another Weather Ball, so nice call here. And honestly, I think you just get rid of this thing. I could potentially see an undercharge, but probably safer just to get rid of it. And yeah, he just ends up getting rid of it. What's going to be in back here? And it's a Scizor. And honestly, up a shield, I think he's going to be able to do this because I think 2 Aerial Aces should just about KO. And that Guzzlord is at very, very low HP in the back. So 1 Aerial Ace, sure enough, does quite a bit of damage. And this is a Fury Cutter Scizor. And it's very spammy, and he's going to settle for the double resisted Leaf Blade here. I'm not sure this is going to be enough damage, and it barely isn't, but the Air Slash goes through. He really needs this Air Slash to KO, because I do believe that the opponent is at back-to-back moves here. They throw the Night Slash, but the Air Slash KOs, and the Guzzlord is very low, and he farms down the Guzzlord. What a battle. And honestly, what a set. Some super, super spicy movesets and teams by the opponent. And some very, very nice play by SomeKindaRookie here. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to see that many core breakers. He saw an Escav, he saw Magneton, he saw all kinds of mons that absolutely core broke his team. And honestly, I think that was a 7-0 there. So he managed to win all 7 games. And very nicely done by him. And thank you very much, Spencer, for sending me these battles. I had so much fun commentating on them. And guys, if you did enjoy this video, like I said before, I would really like to start submitting viewer-submitted battles at some point. We'll just have to see kind of how it plays out, but I definitely am going to make this an opportunity for you guys in the future. So let me know in the comments if you like this little bit of a switch up. And again, if you're enjoying my content, please give it a like, give it a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because every subscription I can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.